Okay, in this video we're going to look at some of the on-page factors that help rank a website. We're going to call this on-page optimization. As you can see here, we've got 7 subcategories which we're going to look at in detail. There are more than this, but I just want to, at this stage in the course, not get too bogged down into too much detail, but to give you really an overview for people who are new to this, to exactly what factors affect on-page optimization. We've touched on some of these in some of the earlier videos, but we are going to go into them a little bit more detail in this video. So if we look at the domain, we've talked about the domain name and how we name it, pick a domain to fit in with our products and keywords, but really it's also the authority of the domain. Now obviously an on-page factor would be the PR, the Google PR of the website, which is basically in Google's eyes how important Google rates the website in reference and relative to other websites. So this is a very important factor. Obviously if the site's new, it'll have no authority or no PR, and one of the things that many people consider when they're getting a website, if they've not already got one already, is to buy a domain which is one which has been around for some time, which has been aged and has got more authority. And we're going to look about buying domains and how to pick domains that are basically expired or premium domains a bit later on in the course. But I just wanted to bring that in. You don't always necessarily have to buy a brand new domain. Some cases that's good, some cases it's bad. But I just want to bring into the fact that we can look at buying domains which may have been used before in the past. Many domains. We have probably 250 domains I own, and I would say only 10% I actually use for websites or use for anything. I just have them parked. Then a lot of people do the same and may have bought a domain 2 or 3 years ago. It comes up for expiry, and basically that when it expires, either if you don't renew it, it becomes publicly available. And I'll show you how you can find this out on some domains later, because it could be a case you see a domain which you really want to get and it may be coming up for expiry in the near future, and it could be a case looking out for that. Metadata, probably one of the most important factors for the website, is basically title each of the website, and we're talking about mainly about the home page now. The title of the website, description, this is the little bit we see in the Google search results, and keywords. Very important factors. This probably the most important factor is the title tag. If we now look at the next section, which is keywords, again Google is all about relevance, as we've talked before, and it's very important that we pick keywords that are relevant to what we're trying to rank for. So if we go back to our example of dog training, we did a lot of keyword research, and if we're using a lot of words that Google's suggested to us in content and in subsequent pages on the site, then our site is going to be very relevant in Google's eyes. LSI is, I can't even pronounce it, latent semantic index, and that is basically Google will give you ideas of other words that are relevant to the main keyword, and it gives you some ideas of which other keywords are relevant. So that's very important just to bear in mind, and we'll go into that in a lot more detail later on in the more advanced sections. Content, again, very critical and becoming more important in recent months and years. What I call here is the quality. Obviously what is already on the site has got to be good quality. There's no point getting rehashed, copied stuff. It's got to be unique. It's got to be well written and using keywords in the description and the content of the website. The quantity of content on a website is important, as well as the quality. So if you've got a website with 10 pages, generally a website with 50 pages will be considered more important in Google's eyes, if the two lots of content are equal. Frequency of content, this is again becoming a much more vital component in the algorithm, and that is how often are you posting fresh content to the website. I suggest with any website you should be posting something, whether it's a short blog post or several articles a week, some news. You should be posting at least once a week to your website to keep it fresh in Google's eyes. Every time you put a new piece of content in, hopefully the Google bots will come to your site, spider it, and it gives you another tick in the box that your site is up to date, it's a vibrant site and producing a lot of new content. Optimization of content, this is very, very important, as we've just touched on. Basic blends across some of the other categories we've talked about. We'll just touch it again. Metadata, which we talked about above. If we're using images, these can be optimized using alt tags, which are relevant to our keywords. The text obviously should be written relevant to the keywords we're trying to target. Keyword density, something we're not really touched on at the moment. Keyword density is the number of times the keyword appears in the article, and if you're writing, say, a 500-word article, your keyword density should be no more than 1 to 1.5%. So that means that if you've got a keyword of an article of 500 words, probably 5 times the keyword should appear in that article. And I would suggest when you're writing an article that you use the keyword at the start of the article, right at the start in the opening sentence, and you try and use it in the closing sentence as well. We've found that works really well when creating content, and scatter it about a couple of times within the article as well. Videos are becoming much more important again recently, and I want to give you all the up-to-date information I've got on optimization. I would suggest that you start using videos in your articles, because these are really good to help you rank high. You can optimize a video, embed it in the post, and that's another tick in the box in Google's eyes that you are producing very, very relevant content. Okay, let's touch on now site structure. This is basically how the site is linked to other pages. So if you've got a page on dog training, it's very, very good to link it to another page relevant about dog training. We'll show you this a bit later on in some of the other videos, but I just want to bring these sort of strategies to your mind early on, that you can start thinking about them yourself, especially if you've got a new website or you've got an existing website you want to try and optimize. Categories, this is relevant with WordPress, and I do big advocate of WordPress rather than static websites. These can be categories within the website, and you can create multiple categories, and these could be keyword related, and basically the way the site's then built is bringing very, very relevant content to each of the categories. So as content is added, the website becomes much more optimized and relevant, so quickly ranks in the search engines. Sitemaps, again, I would suggest if you've got a website, you should put in a sitemap. WordPress have got some great free plugins which you can use, which basically are dynamic, which whenever a new piece of content is added, it will create that link in the sitemap. So all the time, whenever content's added, it's going to be linked into your webmaster tools, that when content is added, the sitemap dynamically adds a new link in the sitemap, and Google will be aware of that. Site speed, this is becoming again much more important. Load speed, if your site's very slow, it can be a negative factor in your ranking. You need to check that all things like images are compressed before they're loaded to the website and optimized. Very, very important, and it's a shame that you don't do something like that, what can affect your rankings. Next one is bounce rate. Again, this is a very, very important factor for Google's relevancy. What I mean by bounce rate is that basically Google will look at your site, especially if you've got analytics installed, and it will see the percentage of people who come to your website and actually go to another page within the website. With bounce rate, you really need to get it probably down to about 50%, which means that 50% of people who come to your website go to another page on the website. Stickiness as well. What I mean by stickiness is the amount of time, the length of time people stay around on the website. So the longer people stay on your website, the better, and Google will give you credit for that. A good way of increasing stickiness is having internal links, as we've suggested earlier, and things like videos, which people tend to watch and will stay around on the website longer to watch them. And finally, poor coding. I've just added this one in now. I was going to cover it a little bit on a later stage, but I just thought I'd mention it now. Poor coding, again, this can be a real problem with SEO if you have poorly coded the website. You need to validate the code. If your webmaster is doing this for you, they need to run some validation checks on the website to check that all the code is working properly and there's no dead links and things like that on the website. It's very important to make sure that's done. So I hope that gives you a brief summary of on-page optimization. In the next video, I'm going to talk about off-page optimization.